Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing the Sniper Elite franchise on the GeForce GT 1030. For performance monitoring, I'll be using CAM, excepting on Sniper Elite 1 since that's a DirectX 8 game. If you want to download this software, there's a link down in the description. So the Sniper Elite franchise, I'll show you Sniper Elite 1, 2, 3, 4 and the Zombie Army Trilogy, which is a zombie mode using the Sniper Elite 2 engine. So I'll talk to you in each game, telling you what I did to make it run a certain way. So first of all, we got Sniper Elite 1. This is a very old game. As I said a second ago, it uses DirectX 8 and it doesn't natively support these high resolutions. I had to download a mod that you can find down in the description if you're interested, where you can put your own resolution and fixes the aspect ratio if you want to use, for example, 1080p and don't have a stretch image or something like that. But you'll see in the menu that it says 1080p. No, this is 4K. I just set 4K using a 99 file, but I recommend this one using 1440p since 4K drops below 60 frames per second when there are a lot of transparencies and you're aiming at the same time. But yeah, this one runs just fine, to be expected. I'll talk to you again in the next game.
You don't look so good.
Got pinned down by NVidia.
But you've the
Now I'm testing Sniper Elite 2, and this one was released way after Sniper Elite 1, so we have DirectX 11 on this one instead of DirectX 8 from the first one. So on this one, in order to get 60 frames per second as much as possible, or at least be over 50, I just turn off advanced shadows, compute shaders, motion blur and super sampling in order to maintain as close as possible to 60 frames per second. But you'll see when I aim and I zoom in as much as possible, in some areas you'll see that it drops into the 50s or the mid 40s. In my opinion, it's not a deal breaker, but some people might find it annoying when you're just aiming far into the distance because this game is for sniping. If you're annoyed by that, just lower the resolution to 900p and it should be over 60 frames per second pretty much all the time. But still, this is a great way to experience the game. It was very fluid. So yeah, this one was the first one to put the X-ray kill cams, which are still a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you again in the next game. Now I'm testing the Zombie Army Trilogy, which is a zombie mode made using the Sniper Elite 2 engine by the same developers, I think. And well, this one used to be 3 separate games, but they merged it into one. So we have a long campaign, you can play co-op on your own. It's actually a lot of fun, but it's very challenging. And it's also more demanding on the GPU. There are way more transparencies than on Sniper Elite B2. So well, on this one I'll show you 2 configurations. First of all, 1080p on a mix between high and ultra, pretty much, without using using ambient occlusion, obscurance fields, or motion blur in order to have a smoother experience overall. But to get closer to 60 frames per second, I had to lower the resolution to 900p. So if you want to play at 1080p, just lower the settings more if you want a smoother experience, or if you just want to maintain the same preset that I show here, I recommend using 900p. It's way smoother, but you'll still drop below 60 every now and then, especially when there are a lot of zombies on screen and a grenade explodes or something like that. That smoke makes the frame rate drop a lot because there are a lot of transparencies on screen. You got fog, a lot of zombies, fire, explosions, dust, all that kind of stuff. So that's why it's more demanding than Sniper Elite 2, but it's still very playable. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'll talk to you again in the next game. I'm testing Sniper Elite 3, and on this one, like on Zombie Army Trilogy, I'm going to show you 1080p and 900p. On 1080p I'll be using pretty much high settings, and I'll show you a place that has a lot of explosions on daytime and all that kind of stuff. That should be enough to maintain over 30 frames per second as much as possible. And then on 900p I try to target as close as possible to 60 frames per second, so I lower the settings a little bit, and it's not hitting perfect 60 frames per second, but it's still a very smooth experience overall. Most of the time it's over 50 frames per second, so I consider that smooth enough, at least in my opinion. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you again in the next game. And finally, Sniper Elite 4. This one was released very recently actually, and it supports both DirectX 11 and DirectX 12. On this one I recommend using DirectX 12 even if you have NVidia GPU. On DirectX 12 it runs better overall, but it seems to be using more VRAM. But unfortunately on places with a lot of foliage you get a huge performance hit on the GPU. So on 1080p, even at the lowest settings, I was getting drops into the low 20s. So sometimes when I was running into the forest or something like that, I got drops into 22 FPS, something like that. It wasn't really that stable, so I just decided to use 900p on a mix between medium and low. The only things that I kept on medium were textures, shadows and draw distance, since the other ones tend to be more demanding. For some reason we cannot turn off reflections. That would have helped a lot, but you cannot do it. You can only put it on low as the minimum. But then I lowered the resolution to 720p, and by doing that I can turn on ambient occlusion, shadow detail to high, reflections still low, anti-aliasing and draw distance on medium, and we're still over 30 frames per second most of the time. But even at the lowest settings at 720p, I still cannot hit anywhere close 60 frames per second, so this game is very demanding, but at least we can play it over 30 frames per second. Keyboard and mouse controls are still very responsive, so it seems that the frame pacing for 30 frames per second on these games are well done. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching and see you next time.
Church is well guarded.
Fertig!